She's got long legs and short shorts, but she ain't got no teeth. She wears a red bandana on her head and she smiles so sweet. She'll steal your heart, a very first sight should rip apart your soul. She'll torture your mind and waste your time and drag you down the road. 'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel. 'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel.
All right, you're listening to the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast. My name is Ashley Feller. I'm a third-generation Panama City native. I'm a musician, and I'm also a Floriopolis volunteer. I am so happy to be back. I've missed y'all. I've missed doing the show, but at the same time, I really needed that break. And during that break, I got to spend time with my family. I got to work on some other projects, and I feel rejuvenated, and I feel sincerely just really happy to be back and doing the podcast for y'all. This is episode 1 for season 2 of the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast. One of the things I came to realize during the break was that I really need to do the podcast in seasons. So the plan for 2022 is to do 10 episodes and then take a 2-week break and then return with season 3. So from now on, each season should have about 10 episodes with maybe a bonus episode or 2 thrown in there. This week, we're back with community events happening exclusively in St. Andrews from January the 13th through January the 19th. Our salty local this week is musician and luthier Matt Law. He's also a good friend of mine. I've known him the majority of my life. We played in a band together for several years. We had a great reunion over the holiday break, and I'm really excited for y'all to meet him and hear what he's up to. And if you've got instruments that need to be repaired, he's your guy, so make sure you check out the interview. Speaking of music, did y'all know that there used to be a Bay County band? Find out more about this by listening to this week's old news segment, which I found in the St. Andrews Bay News, This Week in History, 1916. I've got some more exciting news, y'all. The Salty Field Recording Series returning January 17th. This is the video component of the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast. We did some episodes last year with Eli Ingram and also Chase Pospischal that I think went over pretty well. But on January 17th, we'll have episode 5, and this one features the breakout duo Jack and Jen, also known as Eli Ingram and Sandy Marlisa. They appeared on the podcast back in December. Make sure you check out that episode. The name of the episode is called The Story of Jack and Jen. So it's a new year. It is 2022, and the world is our oyster. Are you feeling good? Are you staying safe? Are you excited about what's to come? I sure am. I feel really good about this year, y'all. Once again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite beer, and enjoy the show. Before I get into the community events, I just got a message from Kathy over at Gypsy Beach, and she wanted me to let y'all know that Gypsy Beach has recently remodeled their store, and they're looking for new artists to become vendors in the shop. I recommend you stop by and check them out at 1107 Beck Avenue, and then you can talk to Kathy and see the shop. So let's start with Thursday. If you're listening early, then this morning at 8:30 a.m., they're having coffee with the commissioner at the Panama City Publishing Museum. You can join Commissioner Josh Street for coffee and discussion about Ward 4, including the historic St. Andrews community. Tonight, which is Thursday night, is Collaboration Night at the Library on Beck. This is an open mic hosted by Stephen Meyer. You might meet your new songwriting partner there. You can try out some songs in a low-pressure environment, sip some delicious wine, drink some beer, read a book, whatever you like. It's always a good time. Moving on to Friday, the band Flabbergasted is playing at the House of Bourbon, 8 p.m. If you haven't been to House of Bourbon before, it's upstairs in the Shrimp Boat. They've got a beautiful dance floor. I need to let you know that this weekend at Uncle Ernie's, they're having their chef specials, one of which is their sautéed salmon and shrimp with lemon butter beurre blanc. They're featuring barbecue grouper and shrimp. They'll have both of these until Sunday evening. Friday night, they've got music by Jamah Terry, and then Saturday night, they've got music by the great John Cannon. Saturday is always a big day in St. Andrews. One of the biggest events that happens every Saturday is the market at St. Andrews. It opens at 8 a.m. in the lot next to the shrimp boat. That's the Smith Yacht Basin. And they have all kinds of art vendors, crafts vendors. They have produce. And they even have live music, and that starts for you at 10 a.m., and it is brought to you by Floriopolis. Once you get your market fix in, go check out one of my most favorite local bands, the Wabi Sabis at Little Village in Finns at 1 p.m. This is going to be a great chance for you to eat some tacos. I recommend the brisket tacos. They are my current favorite. Drink you some cold beers and enjoy a wonderful positive show by the Wabi Sabis. So here's something you could do for your Sunday fun day. Have you tried the latest appetizer at Bergen Barrel? It's baked feta. Doesn't that sound amazing? I love cheese. This is one of their newest additions, and it has feta, of course, sun-dried tomatoes, Italian olives, garlic, thyme, extra virgin olive oil, and rosemary served with warm pita. And after you finish that snack, why don't you boogie on over to the Salty Hobo for some afternoon cocktails overlooking St. Andrews Bay? And on your Manic Monday, if you're trying to figure out where to go for lunch, if you're military, they've got Military Monday at Enzo's. They have 10% off to all those who served our country. Enzo's is a family-owned Italian restaurant that offers delicious pasta, sandwiches, pizza, and more. For Music Monday night, they've got Little Fest at Tap Room, which is a weekly showcase of local musicians. There's usually 3 or 4 different musicians, and they play from 6 to 9, and they've got a different host every week. So I haven't found any official events in St. Andrews on a Tuesday, but if you find anything or if you have one, please DM me, and I'll be sure to include it on the show. So I figured on this Tuesday, why not take a stroll around the marina, and while you're in the vicinity, get lunch at Alice's. They offer daily blue plate specials, and they feature delectable cuisine that everyone will enjoy. They have a variety of seafood plates and sandwiches cooked to perfection, and don't forget to order dessert. It's served Monday through Friday, starting at 11 a.m. On to Wednesday, over here at Floriopolis, which is where we record all the interviews, they are having public art hours from noon to 5. You can come create your work of art for the art in public spaces displayed on Janie's fence across from the captain's table. Each exhibit is changed out near the first of the beginning of the months as possible. Here's the themes from the list. So coming up for February and March, they've got mythical creatures. This goes up Tuesday, February 1st. In April and May, they've got paint whatever you want, matched with the existing song lyric. June and July is coastal birds. August and September is marine fish. In October and November is harvest. You can paint any kind of fruit or vegetable. And then December and January is dancing. So we've got an exciting themes. There's a lot of really talented artists, and everyone is welcome to take part in art in public places on Janie's fence. Just show up at Floriopolis at noon and be ready to have a good time creating. On Wednesday, they've got the comedy open mic at the Library on Beck at 8 p.m., brought to you by Panama City Comedy. The sign-up is at 7:30. And then also on Wednesday is Line Dancing with Janine at 7 at the House of Bourbon. So if you want to practice your boot, scoot, and boogie, they've got you covered. This concludes all the community events for this week. Tune in next week for more. One of the best things about St. Andrews is that you can see live music every day. That's right, there is live music being played somewhere in St. Andrews 7 nights a week. Fortunately, my friend Ken Schaefer creates and publishes a weekly schedule for St. Andrews as well as most of Bay County. Ken's spreadsheet schedule is updated often when there's any changes. Ken also shares individual music events and is walking the walk and talking the talk when it comes to supporting live music. Not only does Ken supply the music schedules, but he attends several music performances a week and takes fantastic photos of the musicians. As a working musician myself, I feel blessed to have Ken and his wife Donna as treasured members of our local musical family. Make sure you like and follow Ken's page, Salty Sounds in St. Andrews, and Oh Boy Music on Facebook, so that you'll always know where all the live music will happen. Thank you so much, Ken, for everything you do. Today we are here with Matt Law, who I've known longer than I can remember, most of my life. We've been playing music together for a very long time. I remember your old business card used to say anything and anything because you do so many things, but today we're here just to talk about a couple of things that you do, and that's music. How'd you get into playing music?
I had my great uncle Charlie, my grandmother's younger brother, always played guitar at family gatherings, and Uncle Charlie always had his guitar, and it really captured me at a very early age. I wanted to do what Uncle Charlie did because it looked like he was having so much fun, not just because I wanted to entertain the masses or anything like that. It just looked like he was having fun. I had another uncle that played drums, so I picked up playing drums from one uncle and guitar from my great uncle, and that's where it started.
Awesome. So you come from a musical family, and for folks that know you and have seen you around, they know that you're very passionate about Rickenbacker instruments.
That's true.
And Gibsons as well. How'd you get into collecting those?
My great uncle Charlie had a 1935 Gibson L Century, which was a very expensive guitar. It was the second most expensive guitar that Gibson made in 1935. And this was the depths of the Depression. His father, my great-grandfather, was a mailman who delivered the mail by horse and buggy. And he later found out that guitar cost $65, which was a month's pay for a rural delivery mailman in the 30s. Grandpa's gift to my great-uncle Charlie when he graduated high school in 1939, and it was a Gibson. And that pretty much set the tone. You know, there's Ford families and Chevy families, and there's Gibson families, and there's Martin families. I guess we're a Gibson family because their acoustic guitars, to me, they're just the best. They have all the attributes I like in an acoustic.
Specifically, how'd you get into collecting Rickenbackers?
All the cool bands played them. The Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Byrds, even Roger Waters from Pink Floyd played a Rick bass. The bass player from Deep Purple played a Rickenbacker bass. Geddy Lee, later on in the 70s, Geddy Lee played Rickenbacker basses. So the Rick thing, it just resonates with me, and I just like that chime. The way they look, the way they sound, they're just cool. Everybody plays Gibsons and Fenders, but Rickenbackers really are just the coolest.
I think they make whoever plays them quite unique. And so not only are you a professional musician, but you're also a certified luthier and you're a guitar tech or instrument tech, I should say. How'd you get into that journey? How'd that start?
We didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, and I could only afford cheap guitars. And if something went wrong with one of my instruments, I couldn't afford to fix it. So I read some books. I read every instrument building and repair book in the library, and when I was in high school I started fixing my own stuff. Then I ended up fixing stuff for friends, and before long I was doing minor repairs for music stores, and luckily enough I was able to get in with the music store here and started doing it full-time. When I left marine construction, I started doing it full-time for Lights Music downtown, and since I left them, they've sent me all their repair work. Plus I've got a couple of music stores on the beach and a couple of pawn shops that send me all the repairs. And I've got a lot of business just from word of mouth. People just know me as the guy that fixes broken guitars. So that's the best advertising. If you do a good job, maybe they'll tell people. But if you do a bad job, they'll definitely tell people, don't go to that guy. Mm-hmm. So I'm lucky enough that my reputation precedes me, and I've got as much work as I can stand.
And you've got a great reputation that you absolutely deserve. Whenever I'm combing the musician forums on Facebook, I always see, hey, I need this fixed. Who do I see? It's always Matt Law, and everybody always has such true and positive things to say about the work you do.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. Now you work out of your home, but when are you going to be open to accepting instruments for repair, and what do folks need to know before they book an appointment?
Well, right now, I've got about 40 guitars in the shop, and it seems like I've always got about 40 guitars in the shop, it's about all the room that my shop has for storing guitars. When I start tripping over cases, I tell people if it's going to sit, it can just sit at your house. I'm not taking anything until after the 1st of February, but hopefully I can get all of these out of the house. If somebody wants to have something repaired, you can always hit me up on Facebook, or if you stop at Lights Music, they'll give you one of my cards. And a couple of the pawn shops have my cards as well. So if you need something repaired, just hit me up on Facebook, and I'll be glad to take a look at it.
Fantastic. You and your wife, Valerie, you've got a duo that's called Love Truck, and I love the music that you play. What's that project like, and when are y'all playing again?
Well, the project is great. Playing music with your significant other is a lot better than watching TV. We work on music together, and she picks songs and I pick songs, and if we don't both like them, then we don't do them. We only do songs we like, and we hope other people like them. We're playing, pretty soon we're playing this weekend. In fact, her band, the Wabi Sabis, is playing at Little Village, and when they finish, they're playing the early slot from 1 to 4, and then I'm playing the late slot from 6 to 9. So that'll be a lot of fun. We've got a bunch of gigs coming up in St. Andrew proper, and we're also booking things in Port St. Joe, Mexico Beach, Apalachicola, and East Point. I like playing east of here. If I'm gonna drive, I'd rather drive east than west. It's just a different mindset over there. It's a little more laid back and not so crazy busy.
As long as I've known you, you've always been playing music and doing all kinds of creative things, making things. What's something that you wish the public knew about the life of a creative person that they might not be aware of?
What you see is the tip of the iceberg. You might see somebody playing and they seem really talented and really good at what they do. And what you don't see is the hours and hours and hours of practice that went into that 3-minute song, or that 8x10 photograph, or that painting on the wall, whatever art it is they do. You don't see the hours and hours of practice that it took to get to that point. People say, "Oh, you're so talented." Well, talent will only get you so far. You got to do the homework. Talent is great, but hard work and persistence and practice is better.
Every single time. And I think that appreciating your own process and respecting your process is what, again, leads to furthering your own art.
Absolutely.
You've been playing in Bay County a long time. What's some of your favorite memories about playing music with your friends here in Panama City, Bay County?
There are so many downtown and in St. Andrew and all over, but playing at the Bayview Cafe, there's no one single memory. There was just such a vibe at playing at the Bayview, 1010 Bayview Avenue, where it's no longer the Bayview Cafe, but it's Alice's, which is pretty cool. But that whole scene, that's where I met you. Mm-hmm. That whole scene back in the day, as they say, there was just something magical. It was the right people in the right place at the right time. And I don't have any bad memories of playing at the Bayview Cafe.
Yeah, I definitely loved being there as a small child. I remember my dad and I took the canoe there a couple of times. The Save the Tree party.
There was always some sort of benefit for the Bayview, but the benefit of being there was the benefit of the Bayview. It was wonderful. And people talk about it in such reverent tones. It makes me smile.
Absolutely. It's probably one of the reasons I play music now. So now that you're back here in St. Andrews and we're here at Floriopolis, which is in St. Andrews now, what do you love about St. Andrews?
It would be easier to list the things I don't like about St. Andrews, because I love just about everything about this part of town. It's my favorite part of town. When my mother's parents moved down here from Montgomery, they lived right off of 19th Street and Michigan Avenue, which is right down the street from my house. My uncles went to Drummond Park Elementary School. That's now Lucille Moore. Mm-hmm. And my mother's parents lived there. My dad's parents lived on Florida Avenue by the Garden Club, which is really what he always considered the eastern boundary of St. Andrew, because it's still not quite downtown. My grandma, his mother, my grandma Billy, she grew up in St. Andrew, and when she was a little girl, Beach Drive was Oyster Shell Road, and there was really nothing between Beck Avenue and Harrison Avenue. All the housing on 11th Street through there, it was all woods. Mm-hmm. And when she was a little girl, she saw bears, and you could hear panthers and bears at night. I mean, it was really wild. And that's before St. Andrew and Panama City grew together. Mm-hmm. They were two separate little towns, like Millville and Parker and Springfield. You know, it wasn't all one big metropolitan area. I've got a long family history here. I love the sunsets here. I love the fact that you can walk around and go from place to place. You can eat, you can listen to bands, you can watch the most beautiful sunsets. All my friends live and play and work in St. Andrew. It's a magical area to me. This was the happening place when my folks were in high school. Tourists went to the beach, but townies, you know, Beck Avenue was the strip. You know, you cruised Beck Avenue and did that.
Absolutely. I love it here, too. And now the tourists, I believe, they're kind of catching on because I'm seeing them over here.
Yeah, I see lots of people that are not from here hanging out in St. Andrew, and they appreciate the slower pace, you know, and not that it's just so breakneck crazy. There's less traffic here, certainly, than there is on the beach. I wish the people on Beck Avenue would push the button at the crosswalks that we had put in. Those were very expensive crosswalks. If you push the button, everybody will slow down because there's flashing lights. I see people walk out in front of me on Beck Avenue and give me a brief heart attack when I'm driving.
Oh, yeah. It's like they're playing chicken. I've definitely experienced that. So I ask all the musicians on the show this question. This is a fun question. If you could play any venue in the world, where would it be and why?
It would have to be Carnegie Hall, because the acoustics are great, and I know if I'm playing at Carnegie Hall, I have arrived. I would just have to say, you know, they built that place so it would be acoustically live, and you don't have to yell. You know, you could hear a pin drop on stage.
So if folks are trying to contact you for if they want to book you to play at their party or in their restaurant or their bar or whatever occasion they may be having, or if they've got an instrument that they might like repaired, what's the best way to get a hold of you? As
much as I hate to say it, Facebook seems to be the easiest way to get a hold of me. It's become a way to do business, not just a social networking site. I have so many people that I don't know hit me up on Facebook Messenger because somebody told them I could fix their guitar, or somebody told them that I had a band or knew somebody in a band or stuff like that. I've had people from East Point, Carabel, 30A, as far north as Dothan, hit me up on Facebook to either fix their guitars or come play. So it's pretty much the easiest way to get a hold of me. Or you can stop by Lights Music at 508 Harrison Avenue and pick up one of my cards. It's got all my contact info, my email address, my cell phone, and my landline. And yes, I still have a landline with an answering machine for after hours.
Fantastic. And so what do you believe is the most unique piece you've seen come through your shop lately?
Oh, geez. There are so many cool things, but I just had a 1960 Sears Silvertone version of a Dan Electro U1 with the matching amp, Model 1482 amp. And there's just something magical about those two that instrument with that amplifier. And the man who owned it, his son-in-law brought it to me. It's been in storage for years, and I got the amp running thanks to my good friend Kelly Hundley, who gave me some tips and pointers. I serviced the amp, got it running good, serviced the guitar, got it playing good, and those two just are magical together. And it turns out that the granddaughter of the original owner is 15 years old, and she's going to be playing Grandpa's guitar and amp. So that's a beautiful thing to see instruments like that not go to a pawn shop or a music store, you know, to stay in the family. Because once they're gone, once they're out of the family, they're out of the family, you know. So to see future generations playing it that will love them and pass them down, that's the coolest thing that's come in lately. And it wasn't an expensive guitar. It was a cheap guitar in 1960 and not a particularly expensive amplifier. But the pair together, they make a sound that you can't duplicate any other way.
Did you post a picture of that? I think I saw it.
I did. It's beautiful.
It is really cool. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being here today at Floriopolis with us on the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast. Thanks for playing music with me all these years. Yay. Thanks for being my friend and being so supportive. And I hope you succeed at everything you got going on for the rest of the year and forevermore. Until next time, keep St. Andrews salty.
Thank you, Ashley.
Did you know that there used to be a Bay County band? In fact, there was, back in 1916, and they would often practice in Lynn Haven. Sounds like they were pretty serious about rehearsal back then. This week's old news segment comes from the St. Andrews Bay News, This Week in History, 1916. Band meets at Panama. On Thursday the 6th, the Bay County Band, with the exception of a few members, met at Panama City. The officials kindly offered the use of the courthouse for the practice, and it proved an admirable place, the ceiling being high, and there was a lot of room for sound. 3 of the Lynn Haven boys were short when the boat pulled out of the wharf on the trip down, and one of our fellows, having contracted a severe sore lip, could not be with us. However, he did manage to go to church, but whoever heard of a fellow using his lips in church? Our piccolo artist, Mr. West, was on hand, but owing to the fact that the piccolo was left in Lynn Haven, he could not perform, much to his regret, as everyone could see. For you know Phil is just a little bit in love with music, particularly reeds and other wind instruments. The Lynn Haven boys experienced some little trouble in coming down owing to a balky engine, add a little more in returning because of the dense fog, which made navigation rather difficult. Otherwise, everything was lovely with the 16 or 18 present. After everything was settled, a number of selections were rendered. The band is getting better all the time, but of course nothing else could be expected. But then, every practice causes perfection to loom up a little nearer. There has been some inconvenience in meeting on account of the members living in 6 different sections, and it was decided that a band should meet once a month in full force. All members from Lynn Haven, St. Andrews, and Panama City are to meet in Lynn Haven on the next second Wednesday in February. Of course, one practice a month will not be all. We could not be satisfied by letting the people off lightly. They must be made to suffer as we learn. Lynn Haven has a full band, and we have a full band here, and there will be held in each of these places as often as possible meetings. The same music will be used when music is bought, so that when the monthly meeting is pulled off, good music can be furnished and there will not be a hard practice, literally, but a good band concert will be furnished. We were highly elated at the appearance of Mr. Chandley, for we found it very nice to have an additional cornet, for in a band of 25 or 30 pieces, it is nearly impossible to get too much lead out of 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 cornets. When the cornets are strong, there is not so much work on every man, and better music is always rendered. Just listen to us. You have not even heard us yet. I hope everyone enjoyed episode 59 of the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast. I am so happy to be back. It brings me a lot of joy to create every episode. As always, thank you for listening. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit our Ko-fi page where you can make a one-time donation. This keeps us going, and thank you so much to everyone who has been donating, and thank you so much for all our generous donations. If you want to further support the podcast, please let your salty friends know to follow us on Facebook so that everyone will receive a notification every Thursday when episodes go live. There's also a new episode of Salty Field Recordings premiering on YouTube January 17th, and this one features recent guests Jack and Jen. I'll link the premiere in the show notes so that you can click the bell to receive a notification to watch the premiere. If you liked our theme song, it was written by me and recorded by Dave Schwartz on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. The rest was written by me and recorded in my music room, with the interviews recorded at Floriopolis. We've got a big year ahead of us. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next Thursday, and until next time, keep St. Andrews salty.
Red lipstick, so thick, and a push-up bra. Tramp stamp, stretch marks, and a lacy thong, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a